Welcome back. It's 8:44 currently this morning. We are continuing to track Hurricane Michael, still a very strong and intense hurricane, Category 4 right now, but it's not really out of the question that this could maybe even possibly get to a Category 5. We have just been seeing this thing completely intensify throughout our morning. Roughly around 1 a.m. earlier this morning, that's when it strengthened into a Category 4. But even since then, the pressure has just continued to drop. And with that, if you don't know what I mean, if you're just tuning in with us, when that pressure drops, that just means that the storm is continuing to intensify. And here you see that pressure. That was actually, this hasn't been updated just quite yet. We've been seeing some chatter of actually the pressure. This shows 933 millibars, but we've been seeing chatter that it's actually at 926 millibars currently this morning. And that'll come out with our new advisory roughly around 10 a.m. but still moving to the north about 13 miles per hour. Good news there is that it's moving still pretty quickly. It won't be a slow moving storm to just drop torrential rainfall, but still moving pretty quickly. But the max winds are now at 145 miles per hour, and that's still around the eye wall there, the center of the storm, the center circulation, that eye wall there. That's where those max winds are, this Category 4, and we've been seeing some wind gusts greater than that, around more Category 5 wind gusts. So like I said, it's not out of the question that it could intensify. Now this is something that I want to show you though, switching over to NextRad reflectivity. You can see the eye there. It was a perfect circle, and we were talking about that, just a textbook perfect circle there, but you can actually see here the wobble in it, and that is actually a thing of a strong, intense hurricane. You can see the wobble there, kind of like a starfish. That just, it shows you that's a characteristic of a powerful hurricane. So this is definitely going to be something catastrophic, unfortunately, for our friends. Not good news for the Florida Panhandle as that continues to inch closer to the Florida Panhandle. And now it's roughly around a little bit less than 60-70 miles an hour off the Panama City coast there. Continue just to make a bullseye for Panama City and the Mexico Beach area. Now we're already seeing that rain shield moving in from those outer rain bands, some light rain, light to moderate rain that keeps continuing through the Wiregrass. So this is about as good as it's going to get. If you're out or about, or you need to go out and about, go ahead and do it now, because the rain is just going to continue to fall over the Wiregrass, all over all of our Alabama counties, and our Florida Panhandle counties, of course, getting the heavier rain. Places like Chipley, Florida, Vernon, Florida, down there towards Bonifay, Marietta, they're of course going to get heavier rain. Here's a live look outside right now though. This is the Ross Clark Circle and 231 South. So like I said, you can see that there's some pretty good traffic out there this morning. So again, if you have to go run errands, go ahead and do it now. But you can see the roadway is getting slick out there, and conditions are only going to deteriorate. That's what we've been preaching on and harping on this morning. And we're also going to take a look at the wind forecast as well. Right now, things are pretty quiet, a little breezy out there. But as we go throughout the afternoon, closer to lunchtime, that's when we're really going to start to see those wind speeds pick up. And after lunchtime, right now, the clock paused at 2 p.m. and that's where you can see some of those winds down there in our Florida Panhandle counties around Bonifay, Marietta, with winds at 50 miles per hour this afternoon. And then it'll continue to move up towards the northeast, and you can even see some places like Dothan, 60-mile-per-hour winds. We're going to feel some Category 1 winds, even maybe some low-end Category 2 winds, but 50, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and we can even see some gusts greater than that. And the best chance for those winds going to be more in Houston and western Geneva County, or eastern Geneva County, excuse me, for those winds, and also in parts of Dale County and Henry County as it continues to move off towards the northeast. But the strongest winds, of course, will be more into the Florida Panhandle, and then it will weaken, of course, Category 4 right now with those max winds about 145 miles per hour, but those will weaken as it moves on land. So that's the good news there, and like I said, pretty quick moving. So the good news for us, those winds will move on pretty quickly, and then as you can see, fast forwarding towards Thursday as it moves off towards the northeast. Still going to be kind of breezy though for our Thursday. Here's winds about 20 miles per hour, 20 to 25 miles per hour for our Thursday as well. So it's still going to remain with those breezy conditions. Here's a look though at the rain forecast. Like I said, steadily coming down this morning, light to moderate rain for most of us in the Wiregrass, as we saw on our radar just a few moments ago. But here's a look at those rain totals, roughly around 4 to 5 inches here in Houston County. Of course, to our south, greater rain totals for our friends in the Florida Panhandle around Bonifay, Marietta. And even as it moves towards the northeast over our southwest Georgia counties, even rain totals about 7 to 8 inches, and locally in some places you could get more than that. So that's why we've been harping on staying off the roadways and staying off of, if you don't have to go outside, of course, because things are just going to continue to deteriorate as we go throughout the afternoon and into the early evening hours. We do have a flash flood watch for all of our Alabama counties and even some of our Florida Panhandle counties, and then a tornado watch for parts of our southwest Georgia counties, and even for Jackson and Washington County and Florida Panhandle. Now the good news is we're more on the western side of this storm, so the tornado risk still going to be very low end threat. The greatest risk of that going to be more towards the east and really more towards Tallahassee, Florida area and on the I-10 corridor going towards Jacksonville. But here's a look at that tornado probability. You can see there the brown area, that's about a 5%, and like I said, that's more over southwest central Georgia in the northern part of Florida there, and here in Dothan, just that green area, about a 2%, so very low end risk for us. But the also danger with that is that these tornadoes associated with these hurricanes, they're pretty quick. They spin up pretty quickly, so you have very little warning. So that's why we're going ahead and telling you now just to be prepared. But like I said, very low end risk of that. It's not zero, but very low end, and our SPC outlook kind of goes along with that. That yellow area, that's where the greatest risk is for any tornadic activity. So again, we're just going to kind of recap on some of the things that you need to go for today to be able to make sure you are prepared. If you're in a mobile home, of course, now you want to go ahead and find that local shelter if you haven't already, but probably a good idea to do it because even without the tornado threat, we're still going to have those straight line winds, which is dangerous for mobile homes. So if you have friends or family that has a sturdy home, or if you know one of the shelters that's open, go to one of those. And of course, keep your phone charged, because it's not when the power, or if the power goes out, it's when the power goes out. And you want to make sure that you can have your updates. Download our WDHN weather app for updates as well. And then of course, if you cannot drive, don't drive. If you don't have to be out for work or anything, then avoid the roadways at all costs, because like I said, conditions just going to continue to deteriorate with all the rainfall, and especially when those winds start to pick up this afternoon. That's when trees, debris is going to be falling in the roadways as well. So you want to avoid that at all cost. And of course, have a flashlight handy, plus extra food and water. So if you do have to go out and get some of those groceries, you want to go ahead and get it now this morning, because roughly around lunchtime, that's when things are going to start to get pretty bad for us here in Houston County. Of course, for our friends in the Florida Panhandle, things are going to kind of deteriorate pretty quickly more in the Florida Panhandle. But here's a quick look at the 7-day. Again, we're going to have breezy conditions for us tomorrow, but then things are looking pretty good. We just have to make it through Hurricane Michael before we can kind of get to some better, more fall-like conditions for the rest of the week. Tanya?
Mandy, and I apologize, I'm going to read off of my phone, but we're continually getting messages coming in, and I just wanted to mention that first of all, the Geneva County Sheriff's Office has reported to us that as of 9 o'clock, I believe this morning, they have opened a shelter at the St. Elizabeth Church there in Geneva. However, you do have to, there's no food provided there at that location, and you would have to bring your own bedding. Also,
your own bedding?
Yeah, like blanket and pillow.
Sleeping bag.
That sort of thing, yes, exactly. And then also, as of 9 a.m. this morning, they will open, it's not quite 9, but Hartford Baptist Church, the Hartford Police Department is letting us know that they have opened, or will open rather, at Hartford Baptist Church as a shelter at 9 a.m. too, but no pets there as well. We're also getting reports in that parts of State Highway 180 are open, but already understanding water there. So
and where was this again?
That is State Highway 180. Are you familiar with where that might be? No, that's in Florida, I believe. But anyway, we thank you for all of these reports and updates that you're giving us, and just continue to send anything that you may know of, updates, if you would, to news@wdhn.com.
Two things. One, again, a lot of dirt roads in the area, so if you live near one, you know the problem. If you have a lot of rain on those dirt roads, they may become impassable. The other thing is on paved roads, even on dirt roads, if you got a stream of water over the road, you should never assume that it's just a little stream of water over the road. You may have a washout, and you don't want to see your car go down into the rut or get swept off the road. So again, if you see a stream running across the road, you really have to assume the worst, that maybe that road is out, and you should probably turn around and go back the other way and take another route.
Absolutely. All right. I don't see any other questions as of right now.
I have one. I want to point out, Griffin. Okay, now I think the last update they gave, how far was it from Panama City, the center?
Roughly, it's about 75 miles.
Okay, the reason I bring this up, okay, that's 75 miles. We're about 85 miles from Panama City Beach, actually closer to 80. So that's 155 miles.
Yes,
roughly
away from
the center.
us.
Okay.
Yes, in
All
Dothan.
right, in fact, maybe a little bit less, because we're talking Panama City, then back up to Dothan. So maybe it's about 170 miles from us. Okay, now tropical storm force winds extend out 185 miles, and so we're within that. So you go outside and you go, there's no tropical storm winds. Again, that brings up the point that even though you may find tropical storm winds in that 185, it doesn't mean everything in that 185 is tropical storm winds, and you're seeing that up here. Basically, I don't think there's any tropical storm winds in Alabama yet.
Right.
And probably nothing above I-10 that's tropical storm winds for the most part. That's just an educated guess.
As of right now, I don't think we have any.
So again, the hurricane force winds only extend out 45 miles from the center, and the really vicious, really intense winds, 130, 140, are going to be right there in the eye wall. Right
That's
there
correct.
within about 10 miles from the center itself, and then they drop off periodically as you go further out from it. So again, you've got to be near that eye wall, that center, to get these really intense winds. The big radar representation that you see in the satellite, though, you don't have intense winds throughout that whole thing. It's just right there in the middle. So especially the further left of that center that you are, good 40, 50 miles away, say around Destin, you're looking pretty good actually. You could have some bad rain bands or whatever, but again, as that moves through and weakens into southwestern Georgia, as Griffin mentioned earlier, that's when we'll get our peak winds later this afternoon. But again, I'm thinking basically a 60, 65 mile an hour gust might be. But again, don't count out a possible one up around 70 or a little bit higher.
Okay.
But Griffin will have more on that in a minute.
Another thing, we just got an update or email from Dothan City Schools. Of course, they're closed all day today, but we just got a notification that they will remain closed tomorrow as well. So just got that minutes ago, and we appreciate the feedback there. All right, so do we want to go to a break? Should we go to a break? Any more questions? I'm out of questions. Send your questions in to news@wdhn.com or via our Facebook page. We're going to go to break. Yeah, we're going to see about a beach cam right now. Let's throw that up. Yep. All right.
Indeed.
All right, this is at Pineapple Willie's. I've been told it's currently 8:55.
Oh yeah, that's also Thomas Drive, yeah.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Surf's up.